guard has led to
Do you suffer from neuropathy? Maybe you do and you don't even know it. Do you have numbness, pain, burning, or tingling in your hands and feet? Muscle weakness, loss of balance, muscle twitching. Are you not sleeping? Does it feel like pins and needles in your hands and feet? Maybe you have no feeling at all. The symptoms can make life unbearable, but there is help at the Lighthouse Medical Center. Call 754-222-6642 for a no-charge consultation and say goodbye to your neuropathy symptoms. 754-222-6642.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marcia Teal. Marcia will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teal, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Caregiver Solution Info Show. I'm happy you could join us this evening. We have another wonderful program for you. This show is for you, the family caregiver. So if you're caring for someone who can't care for themselves, especially someone with some type of dementia like Alzheimer's, then you'll want to really pay attention, because every week we interview experts that are going to bring you their tips, their information, their expertise on different subjects. They're going to help you and help you tread down that road, because caregiving is a journey, and it's a long journey sometimes, and it's a very difficult journey sometimes. And so the more that you know, the better your journey can be, and the better that you'll feel about your caregiving efforts. So today I have a very special guest. She is pretty amazing because she has been a caregiver. She's a caregiver advocate. She's an author. She is a support group facilitator. She also does some conferences that anybody around the world can tap into. So education is one of her focuses. And she's a friend of mine. Her name is Linda Burhans. And Linda is joining me today from her home office on the other side of Florida. Hi, Linda. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, my friend. I'm so delighted to be here tonight.
I'm always glad to see you, and you have a lot to share with us, a lot going on in your world, and we're going to talk about a lot of that. So I know that you have been doing support groups and facilitating support groups for many, many years. How has your history been in this caregiving world? How many years?
I've been doing this for about 15 years, but it all changed a couple of years ago when COVID came.
Exactly. And now we're sort of still dealing with COVID, not as critical, but since you brought that up, I'd like to talk to you first and foremost about what you've seen, the differences, the before COVID, the after, the during COVID, and the after COVID with your caregivers. You used to meet in person, obviously, and now it kind of went to like a Zoom.
We met in person, and then COVID came and everything shut down. And I'm thinking, and then this Zoom thing came about, I knew a little bit about it before, but not a lot of people used it. And I thought I need to touch my caregivers. I need to look into their eyes. I don't know how I'm going to like this. We didn't have any other choice. It's been gifts of COVID because now I have caregivers in my support groups that are all over the world. I mean, all over the United States, Canada, England, that didn't have a support group near them. It was never that opportunity open to them. So that's been a gift of COVID.
So when people are complaining about COVID and about not being able to do certain things, you're saying that looking at the bright side, there's always a silver lining in the problem because COVID presented us with a gift, which is the gift of technology to bring caregivers together for the support group where they get on a platform and get online. And that has probably
But
been
also
a gift.
another gift of COVID, I think, is people that were caring for their loved one who was in adult daycare or did different things, that couldn't happen. And they actually started spending more time with their loved ones.
And what?
Seeing some challenges, and
Yes.
seeing some things that need to be done, but spending that time together.
So that time was beneficial in the fact that what? They learned how to deal with the issues better?
Not so much I think they learned how to deal with the issues, they just spend time together. You know, caregivers are like, okay, so I'm taking care of my mom, she lives with me, whatever, and getting her food ready and her medicine ready and this, and then I'm like, I gotta do this, and I gotta do this, and I'm running. Well, COVID kind of shut that down. So maybe now I'm sitting and chatting with mom more.
Maybe
I'm
more
reminiscing more.
right, more relaxed atmosphere perhaps, maybe not so stressed out because people couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do a whole lot. So maybe they're home and they're just more relaxed and they're kind of forced to be together, which can create a better bond between the caregiver and the person they're caring for, right?
Hopefully for most. That's not always the issue, but I think just that time of getting back to what's really important.
Well, spending quality time together is important. And I think that you're right. We have to look for those opportunities and look for the opportunities to connect, to find joy in the moment, to find happiness every day where we can. I know you and I always talk about living and laughing and loving, and I just have to say that you have a tagline that you are the gal who takes care of the caregiver with love, laughter, and lessons learned, right? Did I get it right?
Yeah. Because you know what it is? I'm very transparent. What you see is what you get. And caregiving is tough. It really is tough. But I always say your caregiving experience can be the most horrific experience of your life or close to beautiful, depending on how you handle it. And if you get education and if you get support and you listen to your show and my show and you learn stuff, it's funny. My girlfriend lives in Canada and I'm going to visit her soon and she takes care of her dad 24/7. Canada's been really locked down. And during COVID, he had his leg amputated, so it's tough. But I'm going to visit her, so I sent her dad a card with some brownies and said, I can't wait to see you. And she said to me, you did what? What do you teach everybody? He said, don't tell them you're going to the doctor's on Friday and Monday. She goes, I'm not giving that to my dad. I didn't even think about that. I was like, all right, just give it to him like a day before I come.
Well, that's one of the things that caregivers learn along the way is how to handle situations. And we're going to talk about that today and talk about some specifics about some of the trials and tribulations that caregivers go in their daily routine. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Linda is going to share with us some of the tips that she's learned that she helps caregivers with. So we'll be right back.
Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines.
You are listening to your host, Marcia Teal, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
We're back, and my special guest today is Linda Burhans. She's the gal who cares for the caregiver through love, laughter, and lessons learned. And she's joining me today from her home office on the west coast of Florida. And Linda also has a radio program, which we'll share with you a little bit later here. And we've connected and partnered together to help you all understand more about caregiving and everything that goes with it. So, Linda, we're talking about the COVID and finding the bright spots when we can in the difficult times. And both of us are dedicated to helping caregivers get through those tough times, finding solutions to some of the problems. So I'm going to throw a couple problems out to you that a lot of caregivers would talk about or complain about or have issues in their caregiving day. And we'll talk about how we can help those caregivers solve that problem. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So a wife is taking care of her husband and he keeps telling her, I want to go home. And they are at their home where they've lived for 20 years. And he keeps telling her, I want to go home, and he's getting angry about it. What can she say to him?
Okay, so home is not necessarily a residence. Home is a place where I feel safe. So even though he's lived in this home for 30 years, let's say, maybe home to his is where he grew up with his mom and his dad. So I think the thing is to sit down with the person and spend some time with them and just see what they're feeling, because it's not a physical thing. It's a emotional thing. It's like, I want to be home. Sometimes I'll say to a caregiver, when your mom says she just wants to go home, just take her favorite blanket and put it on her lap, because that makes her feel like home. Or just maybe sit down and spend a little time with her and maybe pull out a couple of photos and let her feel that comfort of that feeling.
And
But
talk, talk about home. Talk about what home means to her.
Right. Home is comfort. Home is my soul. It's not where I reside necessarily.
So,
But people saying, you're home, Mom, you're home, you're home, you're home, you're home. She's like, no, I'm not.
And, but the person with dementia, they don't recognize that they are in their home that they've lived in for 20, 25 years. They don't recognize it. And it's hard for the caregiver to understand that. Like, look, we've lived here for 25 years. And a perfect example that I experienced myself is a daughter took her mother home after she'd been placed in an assisted living and took her back to visit. The daughter had come into town. So she wanted to take her mom back to the home that her mother lived in, that mother had decorated, and they had moved down to Florida from up north, and they retired. And so when the daughter took the mother into the house, it was a condo, probably up like on the 10th floor of overlooking the ocean, beautiful place. The mother looked around and she said, what is this place? It looks hideous. And the funny part was the mother didn't recognize it. She'd lived there for 20 years. She decorated it. And when she looked around, she said it looked hideous. which was kind of funny to the daughter because the mother, that was her decorating. And so, perfect example how people do not understand that they're home, they don't recognize where they are, and when they talk about wanting to go home, not only is it not where they have been living, and it could be a feeling, like you said, about a comfort, a place where they feel safe, and maybe they're even thinking about the home they grew up in because they have their long-term memory, right? The short-term memory is gone. That's why they don't recognize their current surroundings. But their long-term memory many times is the last to go. So when they say they want to go home, they're thinking about the home they grew up with their mom and their dad and their siblings, and that's what they're talking about. So,
I say to caregivers sometimes, just stop for a minute and try to look at it through their eyes, where they are at now. It may be, their home from when they were a child. It may be their home from they brought up their family. Maybe the home that they had with their loved one, their husband, before this all happened. But I think we need to take the time and sit with them and see, what are we talking about here?
Exactly.
Instead of just saying, you're home, or you don't have that home anymore. No.
No, that's just going to frustrate them and they're going to get upset. So you need to, like you say, investigate, ask a lot of questions, be gentle.
I don't want somebody to do that to me. And I'm getting up there, so you know what I'm saying?
You want to get home, so we're going to find out what that means to you. Okay, how about this one?
Yeah.
Come on, Mom, it's time for your shower. Shower? No, I don't want to take a shower. Come on, Mom, you need a shower. You stink. Let's go. Okay.
I took one yesterday.
No, you didn't.
I did.
No, you didn't. Yesterday, we're out all day and we didn't have time for you to take a shower. You didn't take a shower, Mom. You need one now.
Okay. This is where I think about that. First thing I think about is maybe Mom's afraid to take a shower. She might fall, or she might not be comfortable anymore. I had a caregiver in my support group tell me one time that just the pressure from the water could make her mom feel uncomfortable. We don't realize that, how the sensation of their skin might change or whatever. But my favorite story is the caregiver said, you know what I do? Because I went to Bed Bath & Beyond and bought these really fluffy towels. And I put 2 chocolates on top of them. I brought it to my mom and I said, it's time for us to have our shower. And it was a whole different attitude. Because previously her mom was with her sister and her sister was like, she won't bathe. She won't do this. Who doesn't want to be pampered?
So there's a lesson right there. The daughter comes in and is kind of a drill sergeant. Come on, Mom, you got to take your bath and you got to do it now. And that kind of sets the tone. But what you just said, totally different tone, which is going to set the mood. Nice fluffy towels, little chocolate, maybe some candles, make it like a spa. And probably Mom would enjoy it much more.
Well, and don't we all deserve that?
Sure,
I think we have to think many times through our caregiving experience. It's going to take us a little bit longer to do something with Mom, whatever it is, whether it's bathing or cutting fruit or whatever. But who are we serving? Because if we take everything away from Mom, then Mom sits in a chair. People say to me, oh, well, Mom's not doing anything. She's not talking to anybody because you took it all away from her.
You took it away. So we want to present things that they can still do and not take away the things they can't do, right? Because that's going to make them feel better about themselves. It's going to give them some purpose. It's going to make them feel more like they're your equal rather than, you're talking down to them like a child.
Well, I think we always want to be a team. That's how I try to put it, as a team. We're a team together. Whatever we're doing, let's see how it can work out. And I've said to some of my caregivers, please just consider this and sit down with your loved one and say, we're a team. and we're going to work this out together, because I think all of a sudden it's like I'm taking care of mom and I'm telling mom, oh, you have to eat this at this time. You have to go to the doctor at this time. You can do this at this time. And that doesn't make me feel very comfortable if I was mom. But if I say to mom, we're a team, it's a whole different ballgame.
She feels you're on her side, and that you're going to help her and not just tell her what to do.
Right.
Because that's a team effort.
And we always have to remember that all of us, you and I, are aging. And how do I want to be treated?
With respect and dignity and kindness and love.
And a couple of laughs.
And laughter, which is very important. And that's another topic. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's another situation that a lot of caregivers deal with. The daughter's taking care of her mother, or the husband's taking care of his wife, and the person with dementia says, "Where's my daughter?" or "Where's my husband?" And that person is the husband, that person is the daughter, but they don't recognize them as the daughter or their husband, and they like, where are they? And it kind of shocks an adult child or a spouse who have known their mom or their wife their whole life, that they're shocked, like they don't recognize me all of a sudden. Like, that's crazy. So what do you say?
It's hurtful.
Yeah.
It's hurtful, but you have to, I say with anybody with dementia or even just aging, it doesn't have to be dementia, you need to go into their world. Okay, so.
What does that mean, Linda?
You might not really understand what's going on, but I can rebuke you and tell you it's all wrong, or I can just go with it.
So how do you go with it when mom doesn't recognize me as her daughter, and I'm here and I'm trying to help her, and she's asking, where's Susie? And Susie's right here. Do you look, Mom, I'm your daughter, I'm Susie. And it becomes very uncomfortable for both of them, because it's frustrating. It's embarrassing for the person that has dementia, because they don't understand.
I have to say, Mama, Susie's at work right now. She'll be home later, and I'm just here to help you now. And go, okay. Because I can argue with Mama that I'm not Susie, or I am Susie, or whatever. And once again, who's it going to serve?
So,
you know what? I would be any name my mom or dad would call me.
There you go. You just be that person. Just be the person that's nice to them. Be the person that this nice lady's helping me. Won't my daughter be happy when I tell her this nice lady came to help me, right?
Yeah.
So you got to play the role. So sometimes a caregiver has to step into a role and just, like you say, go with the flow and be whoever they think you are, because it's not about you as a caregiver. It's about caring for the person and, again, giving them the respect, the dignity with love and kindness. And how are you going to get through that? By arguing with them? By telling them that they're wrong? Mm-mm.
And what you just said is absolutely perfect. And caregivers will come to my support groups and they're like, oh, I tried something different.
Hello?
Like, oh, it's much better. But you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And that's why we don't know anything about this stuff. If you've never been in it, you don't know anything about it.
That's exactly right.
And even if you're like dealing with someone with Alzheimer's and dementia and your friends don't know anything about it, they don't know about it.
And, to that point, Linda, if you've taken care of somebody before with Alzheimer's and you think you know, and then all of a sudden you're having to take care of somebody else with Alzheimer's down the road and you think you know, but guess what? You don't know, because it's a different person.
Yeah. If you've met with someone with Alzheimer's dementia, you've met someone with Alzheimer's dementia.
That's right, because the symptoms, the behaviors, the personalities,
the memory, the personality,
this idiosyncrasies, everything is different because every person is different. So just
Yeah.
because a caregiver said, oh, I helped take care of my grandmother. So, now 30 years later, my husband was diagnosed with dementia. Oh, I'll handle that because I'm experienced. I know what to do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be so sure.
No, I wouldn't either. And that's why I think listening to shows like this and going to support groups and having education makes a world of difference.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. One more I'm going to throw out to you.
All
Another,
right.
another scenario. Come on, Dad, it's time for lunch. Well, I already had lunch. I'm not hungry. All right. And Dad's been losing weight and you're trying to encourage him to eat, but he's not hungry. He said he already ate something. What would you do in a case like that?
All right. So I think there's two issues here. There's one or the other. Either dad doesn't eat or dad ate and eats again. One or the other. They have the spectrum. Well, if dad's not eating and dad has dementia, I would suggest, first of all, getting a red plate. You're putting his food on a red plate and cutting his food into small pieces. Because a person with dementia can see food on a red plate. On a white plate, you have a white plate with a white sandwich, I can't see anything. So if you put it on a red plate, there's a very good chance that they're going to eat more. Now, there was another thing here. So I had a friend of mine, a caregiver, he takes care of his aunt, and she has sundowners, and she also doesn't eat well. So what he does every afternoon, right when that time is starting, he makes little like Pettifor sandwiches and makes like little treats, like in a little apple cider. And so for her, it's like, ooh, appetizers or whatever. And then for the next 2 hours, they dance through sundowners. He puts on big band music and they dance. So she dances, she eats, and some of their neighbors say, we just watch them through the window dancing and it just brings us joy.
So she's being distracted through the hard time every day by dancing, listening to music, having a good time, where before that solution, right? It was a very, very difficult time. It was a struggle because people change during sundowners and they aren't always very pleasant. And so now he's found what works.
Yeah.
And it does work.
That's so fabulous.
Yeah. And another thing I just want to add about maybe dad not eating. Sometimes as a caregiver, we throw down a plate of food and said, here's your lunch, eat. And then we have to clean up the kitchen or, do the dishes or make lists or whatever. Sit down and eat with your person. Sit down and eat together, because who wants to eat alone? It's no fun to eat by yourself. And someone just giving you something and said, here, eat it. No, sit with them. Make it a social time. Make it more pleasant, eat and have a little chit chat. And I think that you'll find that they'll be more willing to sit and eat with you if you make it nice.
Well, who wants to eat by themselves?
Exactly.
I mean, nobody says, I'm going to go to the diner and sit there and eat by myself, or whatever. Everybody wants to. And I think that's some of the things we forget about with aging and with the diseases. Let's just get back to basics. Look at me, touch me, talk to me.
Yep. And just see me, who I am, where I am, not how I used to be, but how I am now, now.
Why can't you just find a new adventure with the new person?
Yep, that's right. That's really, really, really good. Well, we're going to take...
One of my caregivers, she cares for her aunt, and she goes over there and she goes, every week she tells me a different story. I'm like, what the heck? Who cares? She goes, I don't know, because she's my aunt. She wasn't like my mother or my grandmother. She goes, I don't know if the stories are real or not real, but who cares?
Does it matter?
No.
Doesn't matter.
And who wants to be corrected?
That's right. That's right. So, well, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to give away a free book. So if you're tuning in, you want to get a pencil and paper to write down how to get your free book, and we'll tell you how in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teal, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Arden Courts Memory Care Community. Arden Courts is a leader when it comes to memory care, and they're the sponsors of this show, our national sponsors, because they're a national company. They have over 50 memory care assisted livings throughout the United States, and they are a resource for caregivers, not only to help take care of your loved one when the opportunity presents itself where caregiving is too difficult or they have no caregivers, but also to take care of the caregiver, the family caregiver, and hold your hand both literally and figuratively through this journey. One of the ways that Arden Courts would like to help you is by giving you this free book. It's called The 36-Hour Day. It's a wonderful resource for caregivers. It's all about Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, written by Dr. Peter Rabins and Nancy Mays. It's continually being updated. Some caregivers call it their caregiver Bible because it's a go-to book to find out what they need to do, when they need to do it, and how they need to do it. So if you don't have this book, I would highly recommend that you get it, and you can have it free today just for the asking. All you have to do is send an email to delray@arden-courts.com. Tell them that you saw this advertisement on the Caregiver Solution Info Show. Give them your name, your address, your telephone number, and they'll be very happy to send a book to you. So again, send an email to Delray, DELRAY, at Arden, ARDEN, -courts, COURTS.com, name, address, telephone number, requesting the free 36-hour day book. You'll be really glad that you did. So my guest today is Linda Burhans. Linda is a family caregiver advocate. She's an author. She's a speaker. She's a radio host. She's a support group facilitator. She does it all, and she's with me today. She's also a friend of mine, and we collaborate occasionally together to bring caregivers information that they need to know on how to be a better caregiver and tips and information on helping caregivers find solutions to their problems. So Linda, we're back, and you told me during the break that sometimes in your support groups lately, one of the topics that you've heard come up a lot is the caregivers are going through a lot of grief, and they're grieving now during the time that their loved one is alive because they see them failing every single day. How is grieving for someone with Alzheimer's different than grieving for a loved one that maybe, passed from a car accident? How is it different, and how can caregivers handle that?
The grieving is different from the grieving of a death, like you said, from a car accident or from Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, whatever. Or grieving when someone is alive is a whole different thing. So caregivers will come to my support group and they'll chat a little bit, and I say, do you realize you're grieving? And they're like, oh my goodness, maybe I am. Because you're grieving different things. You're grieving the loss of what your retirement was supposed to be, what you were supposed to be doing, the different things that is not going to happen now. And you're watching this slowly but surely. So I think when caregivers can realize that they are grieving, then we can help them heal during this process, because it's caregiving is tough. So if you can realize that, and you can talk to other people about it, and that's kind of one of the gifts of COVID too, is having support groups now where people from all over the United States and Canada and Europe are on my support groups, because they didn't have a support group near them. And when you have that opportunity to share with someone else and know that you're not alone, I think that's the hardest part for caregivers, is thinking they're alone. No one gets it. A couple of weeks ago, I was in my mail room, and a lady was taking her mail out of the mailbox, and she dropped it on the floor, and she started crying. Well, you wouldn't think like dropping your mail on the floor would make you cry, right? And as she was picking it up, she said, "I'm taking care of my mom, and it's really hard." And another lady was getting her mail out of the mailbox, and she said, "I know, I'm taking care of my mom too." So we're right here together. We're all aging, we're all living longer than we ever did before. So let's get all our teams together and try to make it the best it can be.
That's right. It's important to reach out. It's important to have those resources. I recently met a new friend, and in our conversations together, I found out that her mother is 104 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I mean, I was surprised. And she oversees her mother's care. Her mother has some aides at home, and she oversees her care. But of course, the daughter has to make sure that, the aides are doing the right thing and making sure that they show up. And there's a lot to go on.
Still a full-time caregiver, the daughter.
She still is. Absolutely, she still is. But then in our conversation, I brought up what I did, and I brought up about the Caregiver Solution Info Show, and I brought up the fact that, I help caregivers. And it's just been such a wonderful start to our relationship, where I can help her and she can tap into my knowledge of what I know and how I can help families and caregivers. And it's just been great. So, I think that caregiving is hard, but if they're willing to reach out, if they're willing to have open minds and to listen to others, to get information, and again, like you said, you're not alone unless you want to be, right? And so you need to reach out. You don't necessarily have to be in a support group, but there's a lot of ways that you can get support without being, in a per se support group, because one person
and just get education and find out what things are available to you, because there are many resources that are available to caregivers and to your loved one, but if you're not tapped into it, you don't know it.
So that's a good segue to my next question for you. And we can talk in generalities here, because not everybody that listens to the show or watches it online, they're not in Florida. They might be in another part of the country or another part of the world. So in general, if you were a caregiver, where would you start? How would you begin to get information and to ask questions and to get the knowledge that you need going forward? What would they do first?
I'm thinking it's listen to your show. It's listening to my show. But I am now doing conferences twice a year. So I have a conference coming up May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And it's totally online from the comfort of your home. So a caregiver doesn't have to worry about someone taking care of their loved one, driving somewhere, finding a parking spot, getting dressed up. So it's totally online, 3 days, virtual, 21 hours of presentation. And even if you cannot come during that time, just by registering, within 2 weeks after the conference, you receive 21 videos of the conference. And there's excellent education here, and you can ask questions, and you can have feedback, and you can find out you're not alone, and you can find out about resources that you had no idea that were there. Because when I took care of my mom, I knew nothing. And I'm pretty sharp, but I knew nothing. I wish I knew then the resources that are available and more now. So I encourage caregivers to get as much education, because when you know better, you do better.
That's right. That's right. So
And that's what we want to do.
your conference that's coming up, is it all virtual or is it both in person?
It's totally virtual.
Okay.
It's May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You can register at connectingcaregiversconference.com. And like I say, even if you can't come those days, as long as you register, you'll receive all the videos. And we have all sorts of things. Like at lunchtime, one day we have Reiki. Another day we have yoga. Another day we have chair exercises. And then also at lunchtime, we have a company called AE Corner, which is adaptive equipment. And it's 2 physical therapists that test all the new equipment that's out there on the market. So one day the last conference, one day they brought all the new tools for the kitchen, all the new tools for the bathroom. And then the last one was adaptable clothing, which is a whole new concept now. I mean, they didn't have that before.
And this isn't the very first conference. I know you had one last year, and I know it was, yep.
And my plan is to do it twice a year, November and.
Wonderful. And I know it was successful. I know a lot of people registered and attended. Can you give us a couple of the highlights of types of speakers that we might expect to be at the conference and maybe what they're going to talk about?
I will say that Ardent Voice, my best friend, is our diamond sponsor for this conference, as they've done before. And they're bringing to the table Dr. Kate Mccarty. Oh, I love Dr. Kate McCarty, and she's going to talk about shadows on the journey, about a lot of the grief before. And the cool thing about Kate is she's living it. She lives with a partner that has dementia. So, and I think it's so important to bring to the conference people that are really living it. And then we have Dr. David Bernstein and Melissa Bernstein, which are going to talk about healthy eating and all that kind of adaptability stuff. We have attorney Sean Scott, which is going to talk about all those papers that you need to have in order and all this stuff. And people might think, I don't want to do those papers. It's going to cost me so much money. It doesn't cost you so much money. Just do your papers, because you don't want somebody else making your decisions for you.
That's right.
And then we have Dr. DeLon Canterbury, and he's fabulous. And he's going to talk about deprescribing medication. Because it kills me when somebody comes to my support group and says, Mom is on 20 medications. It's not good.
Not good, and it does happen, and sometimes those medications interact with each other negatively, and that's going to cause its own problems. And I've seen cases.
Dr. Canterbury, his grandmother had Alzheimer's, and she was given some psychotropic drug that almost killed her. So it inspired him to become a pharmacist. When he became a pharmacist, he said, I was working on the corner of happy and healthy, and nothing was happy and nothing was healthy. So now he's gone to this they actually do genetic testing. So I've had the genetic testing, and it tells my doctor what medication I should never, ever have. So I'm like, especially if it comes to the point where I have dementia, I can't speak for myself. So
Well, those are.
we have Joel Quattlebaum talking about safety and scams and all, and Dr. Karen Truman will be offering a CEU for the last part of the conference. So it's all exciting.
Very exciting. And I know many of those speakers personally, and I will attest that they're wonderful. They're experts in their field, and they will give lots of great advice and information to your caregivers. So the caregivers need to sign up for this conference. It's May 3rd, 4th, and 5th this year, 2022. And again, Linda, tell them how to register.
Just go to Connecting Caregivers Conference.com.
All right. And now that we're talking about connecting caregivers, tell us a little bit about your radio show since you're on mine.
So I've had my radio show. We in March we celebrated our 5th-year anniversary. So that's kind of exciting. You know, it just makes me so happy. Like I know it does you, Marsha, is to bring professionals and information to people that wouldn't ordinarily hear this. You know, I had one caregiver, and she said to me recently. She said, "My show is on Friday, um, from 1 to 2, and it's like local in Florida, but it's also on YouTube and Facebook and everything." And she said, "You know what? It's been fabulous because my daughter has off on Friday, so she comes over every Friday afternoon, and I go out." And I put on my headphones and I listen to the radio show and I walk through Walsingham Park and I see nature. So she goes, bang, bang, 3 things. She goes, I get education, I get exercise, and I get nature all in an hour.
Well,
She said, it makes my week.
caregivers have to find what works for them. And so we were talking about education and talking about resources, and your show is a resource, you know, connecting caregivers. This show, Caregiver Solutions Info Show, is a resource. And if you want to join either one of these programs, it's easy enough to do. Like Linda said, they're both up on YouTube. You can just search on YouTube for either show. This one, of course, is on Southeast Florida Radio. It's also on the iHeartRadio app, and it streams live every Tuesday from 6 to 7 on caregiversolutions.info. Linda's show, Connecting Caregivers, is Friday, and how do they find the program, Linda?
Just go to Linda Burhans at AOL, lindaburhans.com, and you can find everything. You'll find the Tuesday tips, the podcast, the radio show, the whole Megillah.
And even a lot of information on the upcoming conference in May will be on her website too, and that's a good thing. And so you want to tune into that. But if you're someplace where, you know, you don't have a lot of resources, check to find out where your local Alzheimer's Association chapter is. There are many chapters throughout the United States and the world under the Alzheimer's Association. So just, you know, Google that. You can find a chapter. And I know locally in different communities there are other memory centers. I know here in South Florida we have Alzheimer's Community Care. They even have adult day centers, 11 of them in the Tri-County area. There's also memory centers, different places over in Tampa, the Bird Memory Center, and a lot of just memory centers where caregivers can go to get help.
And even if you have questions, just go to your area agency on aging. They can direct you. There's an area agency on aging in every state. So it may be a little difficult, and you have to maybe wait a little bit for your answers, but they can be your main resource if you're not sure where to go.
That's right. That's right. And, you know, even if you have to reach out to your primary care physician, sometimes they can offer you, you know, some information. I know a lot of the dementia community resources reach out to a lot of primary care because they want to be available to help them with their patients. And so you can even talk to your doctor, talk to a neurologist. There's lots and lots of resources out there for caregivers. You just have to look and ask.
And sometimes just talk to your neighbor. Because people say, oh, I feel a little uncomfortable. This is a tough time I'm going through. I don't know who I want to talk to. You know what? There's a caregiver on every corner.
Yeah.
Sometimes just ask your neighbor. And if you know that you're in the same boat together, you can both pull it together and find more resources and help.
You know, that's a great advice, because we don't know what people are doing, you know, behind. If we don't know our neighbors and we don't know what they're dealing with, and I had a neighbor that was taking care of her mom at home with Alzheimer's, and I didn't know it for the longest time. And so I was able to help her and talk to her about having her mom go to a day center, an adult day center, so her mom could get some stimulation and some fun and some resources for the mom, because the daughter worked at home and she was trying to work at home plus take care of the mom. So it was really difficult, and just bringing it up in conversation, she was able to get those resources. So that's very, very, very important. Any last words, Linda, for our caregivers today that are listening to the program that you just want to encourage them?
Know that you're not alone. Know that you guys are absolutely fabulous. I know it's really hard what you're doing, but feel your heart, because when you feel your heart, you'll do the right thing. And connect with Marsha, me, or Area Agency on Aging. There's so many resources. We're to help you. So, and thanks for tuning in today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are here to help. You could always go and get the 36-hour day book. It's another free resource by emailing to delray@arden-courts.com. It's another free resource for caregivers. So we want to be there for you. We have the heart, and the people that Linda and I bring to you on our programs have the heart to help caregivers. And so don't be afraid, don't be embarrassed, don't be shy. And the last thing that you will always say, Linda, you and I, is, try to have a sense of humor and take care of yourself. And that's so important for caregivers to take care of themselves first, so that they have the strength and the mental capacity and the what they need, to the energy that they need to take care of someone. So don't forget to take care of yourself, caregivers. Linda, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, my friend.
I love you. I love talking with you, and I'm sure you'll be back. And good luck with the conference coming up May 3rd through 5th, and I want everybody to sign up and get all that great information. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next week on Caregiver Solutions Info Show. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marsha Teal. Join us next week as Marsha, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions.